Episode 4 begins the very next morning in Sakura's upstairs bedroom at the Avalon residence. So you're probably wondering why is Sakura all excited and happy about? Well, she explains to Kiro that she and her best friend Madison have been planning all week to go to the amusement park, so that's what they're planning to do that morning. So after Sakura got dressed, she went downstairs to join with her father Aiden and her brother Tori. So after Sakura sat down next to her father Aiden wants to know from Sakura, why are you so happy today? Well, Sakura explains, I'm about to meet up with my best friend. We're going to go to the amusement park today. Or so that's what Sakura thought. But Sakura's brother Tori just told his sister, you forgot one simple thing. You traded chore days with me. So, in other words, according to Sakura's brother Tori, that means Sakura will have to stay at home to do her chores instead. And since Sakura's father Aiden has a lecture to teach, he doesn't want to keep Sakura waiting to do all these chores. So he was asking if she was sure she can handle it. So Sakura assures her father that she can handle it. So Sakura and Tori's father Aiden suggested to put the basket of laundry on top of the washing machine. As for Tori, he heads out. So after Sakura's brother left, it's now Aiden's turn to leave. And he told his daughter Sakura to see her later, and so after that he left. So after Sakura's father and brother were out for the day, so in the living room, that's when Sakura made a phone call to her best friend to say, I'm sorry that we can't go to the amusement park as planned. However, Madison forgives Sakura and that they can go some other time. So, you know what this means. Sakura, after she finishes her phone call with her best friend, is off to house cleaning. So, in the kitchen, what Sakura did first was to do all the dishes, while in the laundry room, Kirill does all the laundry. Once that is finished, Sakura goes to the living room to do some vacuuming and dusting. And that's when, while vacuuming under the couch, that's when Sakura saw something very interesting. It's an unsealed cloud card, wood card to be exact, so that's 4 cards that Sakura's got so far. So, long story short, after that minor setback in the laundry room, that's when Sakura did some mopping. The next thing she did is that she went downstairs to the basement to clean up. But that's when she spotted something else that's interesting in the basement. But before that could happen, the first thing she did was to open the window. Back with Kiro, after he finishes doing the laundry, he hangs the shirts up outside. Well, like I said, back with Sakura in the basement, she's found something interesting. Another cloud card, and it's in the fireplace. But there's a problem. It's all covered with ink. But it'll be revealed later. So you've heard right, Sakura has 5 cloud cards total so far, and that's when she heard her phone ring coming from upstairs. So Sakura rushes upstairs to answer the phone in the living room, and it's her father, also Tori's father, Aiden, to let her know that he forgot the blue folder that he left back at the house. And so he was asking Sakura if she would deliver it to Aiden when he was at the bus stop for him. And so Sakura agrees, and then she ends the phone call. So now on her roller skates, that's when Sakura, before she left, told Kiro that she has an envelope to deliver for her father and then she'll be right back. And so she heads out. Back in the basement, remember the cloud card that Sakura found in the basement that was covered with ink? It's about to reveal itself, but we'll get back to that later. Back with Sakura, well, good news for her, she delivered the envelope on time to Aiden, her father. And so her father heads off to the university where he works. So when Sakura came back to her house, she saw that the laundry was all done. And so she goes upstairs to her room, and that's where she saw Kiro lying on her bed sleeping. The first thing that Sakura did was to thank Kiro for all his help. Then Kiro wants to know, is it lunchtime yet? As a matter of fact, I'm about to make some right this minute, Sakura said. But then suddenly, Sakura just heard a noise coming from downstairs. At first, she wasn't sure of it when she asked Kiro, did you hear that? So, you know what this means. Sakura and Kiro had to find out where that noise was coming from. So, on the way downstairs, Kiro just told Sakura there's no need to be concerned. But Sakura wasn't sure of it. So now with a mop in her hand, one of the first things that Sakura and Kiro did was to go to the living room first. Then she looked into the kitchen and the dining room next. The next thing she did was to approach the doorway of the basement. So Kiro had a hunch and figured that that's where the sound was coming from. So Sakura opens the door. At first, she sees nothing. But then, before long, she saw branches coming out of nowhere from downstairs in the basement. Well, anyway, now that Sakura knew that there were branches in the basement and began to grow in the most increasive rate, what she did next is that she closed the door of the basement and one of the branches broke off. So Kira looked at the branch very carefully, but by the moment it disappeared, that's when he knew. It's a wood card. Remember, that's the same wood card that Sakura found earlier in the living room, and now it's downstairs in the basement. But what caused the branches to go out of control? Then Sakura just let slip to say when she left the wood card downstairs, she forgot to sign it. So when Kira learned about it, he said, "You did what?" So after that mishap, Sakura apologized to Kira because she had no idea that she'll have to seal it and then sign it after that. Then Carol says, "Don't you get it? If you didn't sign these cards like you were right now, then that means those cloud cards will never obey you unless you do that." So Sakura asked a question. Why is it acting up now all of a sudden, even though it's never left the house? Then Carol says, "Well, this is weird. It's usually a gentle creature, the wood card that is. And of course, up until that minute, according to Kiro, he says he's never seen it act that way. But then, long story short, as Kiro lets go of the door, that's when branches come out of nowhere and grabs Sakura's leg and at the same time grabs Kiro. If that's not bad enough, that's when Sakura heard a doorbell ring. Now Sakura is wondering who was that at the door. But she knows that whoever it was, if something isn't done quick, then this could mean a problem and she could be in serious trouble. So Sakura told Kiro it's already bad enough to have a forest in her basement, to happen to explain to whoever's at the door. Then what the branches did next is that it grabs Sakura by the leg and opens the door. And there's Kiro still tied up in the branch. Then suddenly the door opened. Sakura shuts her eyes and then thinks to herself, "Oh boy, am I in serious trouble? And I'm going to have some explaining to do with whoever's coming inside." But then the voice says, "Sakura, is that you?" But when Sakura opened her eyes, it's her best friend, Madison Taylor, and she has a basket. So Sakura says, "Madison? Oh, thank goodness it's you." "I thought I should help you with your chores," Madison suggested. "So tell me, did you take on gardening or something?" Because she noticed that there's something going on in the basement. So then Sakura answered her best friend's question. "Oh, not really. It's a cloud card, a wood card to be exact." So after Kira was set free thanks to Sakura's best friend, that's when he told Sakura that now's her chance to steal the wood card before her brother and her father comes back. So one of the first things that Sakura did was to change the cloud key into a staff, so that's what she did. Then the next thing she did was to steal the wood card, which of course she did, or so she thought. Of course, as always, her best friend Madison captures it all on video. But then when Sakura looked around and says, "This is weird, the card's not here." Then Madison, being as supportive as she is, has a suggestion to say, "Why don't we check the basement and find out?" So Sakura agrees with Madison's suggestion, but before they did so, the branches came out of nowhere again, just like it did once before. So Sakura and Madison that there's only one place to go, upstairs, and so they did. Well, good news for Sakura and Madison, they managed to make it outside from upstairs. But now there's a problem. The branches are ruining all the laundry that Kiro did earlier from the laundry room downstairs. Well, finally the branches have stopped growing, well for now anyway, and now according to Sakura, now all she has to do is find out what the heck has caused the wood card to go out of control, and why is it doing it. So Sakura told her best friend that the way I figure it, the only way I can steal the cards from its source. So we know what this means, they had to go back to the basement, they being Sakura, her best friend Madison, and Kiro. But according to Madison, She was told by Sakura that if something isn't done soon, then this whole house can fall apart at any time. So, in other words, Sakura will have to hurry. Now that Sakura's in her new costume, done by her best friend, of course, but now Sakura wants to know why did Madison have to bring it anyway? Well, Madison, her best friend, was more than happy to explain because since she made it the other night, she figured, well, it's just in case if Sakura ever found a cloud card in the amusement park. But now she'll have to wear it anyway because there's a cloud card somewhere in her basement. Of her house, that is. So Sakura knew that there was no time to lose, so she, her best friend Madison, luckily she has a camcorder with her. That is until finally when she, Madison and Kiro arrived in the basement, that's when they spotted water. But that couldn't possibly be the water card. So Sakura has a hunch, and then she told Kiro about the other card she found earlier in the basement that's covered with ink. And that's where she sees it, the source that is the problem of it all. And that's where Sakura and Kiro saw it. It was the rain card that is the cause of everything. That was the same card that Sakura found earlier that was covered in ink when she saw it in the basement. So we know what this means. So that means that it's up to Sakura to catch it. So what Sakura did is that she told the rain card that enough is enough. And so that's when the rain card's form started going towards Sakura. Sakura's best friend, as always, records it on her video camera. But then, Kiro told Sakura that he has a plan to have her use the water card in order to trap the rain card. So Sakura agrees. So that's what Sakura did. She uses the water card to form a bubble to trap the rain card's form. Finally, at last, Sakura steals the water card, but this time for good. Well, now that the rain card has captured, Madison films it all on her camcorder. There's only one thing left to do to have unfinished business with the wood card. But before Sakura could do that, that's when Kira says, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe you don't have to, because by surprise, the wood card went back to its form again. Then finally at last, the wood card's form returned right into its card form the way it used to be. Once that was done, that's when Madison, her best friend Sakura, and Kiro saw something very amazing, a rainbow inside the basement. Now that Sakura is at her father's desk, she signs her name on her two cards that she's captured that day. And I guess you could say she learned her lesson that the next time she catches the cards, she'll make sure that it's signed in her name, of course. So now that Sakura has 5 cloud cards so far, the next thing she did was to apologize to her best friend. Madison forgives her best friend and says, don't worry about it. I'm sure that videotaping the card capture that you just had is much better than going to the amusement park. But then Kiro just says, hey Sakura, come quick. And when Sakura and Madison went upstairs, that's when they realized the whole house was a mess. So we know what this means. That means Sakura will have to start cleaning up all over again. But she won't be doing it alone because Madison's going to be cleaning up with her. So, sometime later, after the cleaning up was finished at the Avalon residence, when Sakura's father Aiden comes back, and so was Sakura's brother Tori, they found that the house is all cleaned up. That's because Sakura and her best friend were doing it. The first thing that Sakura's father Aiden did was to go upstairs in her room and finds her asleep in her bed. And of course, so did her brother, Tori. And I guess you can say that she is worn out after that cleaning up that she did, and with a little help from her best friend, Madison, of course. So finally, Sakura's father Aiden and Sakura's brother Tori left her asleep upstairs in her room. And I guess she deserves that long day's rest after that cleaning up. So that ends episode 4.